We have come to the end of the day of questioning of Maya, the woman who was deceived into a long-term, intimate, abusive relationship by the undercover police officer HI-18, Robert Hastings, who, using the cover name Rob Harrison, infiltrated No Borders, the International Solidarity Movement, State of Emergency, Rampart Social Centre. I'm joined by journalist Asa Winstanley, co-participant at the inquiry, who was mentioned actually in just towards the end there. What have you made of what we've heard today?
Incredibly harrowing. It's mixed emotions day for me. Yeah, I'm a bit shell shocked, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know where to start. I've made lots of notes.
I mean, just to say, I mean, we have heard so much graphic detail about the sexual abuse that Robert Hastings perpetuated against Maya. Some of it, there has been no filter. So there has been some restriction orders put in place during the hearings. So there's whole sections people haven't heard. But if anybody who has tuned in will be fully aware of just how graphic so much of it has been.
Yeah, and I obviously have my two personas here because, as you said, I'm a core participant because I was in the ISM in that era, ISM London, and that's how I came into knowledge of Rob Harrison, as we thought he was called. And yeah, I mean, I wrote about it when it first came out that he'd spied on us back in, what was it, 2017, I think. Is that right?
You wrote
Does that
about
sound
it,
right?
Well, he's the money came out earlier this year, but he was exposed as an undercover officer. Yeah, I think 2017, 2018, something like that.
Yes, that's what I mean. When the fact that there was an undercover officer using the cover name Rob Harrison, I think it came out in 2017, and so it's I learned a lot actually today. It was very graphic. It was incredibly harrowing, and my overall impression is I think he's even more evil than I thought. And I think Maya was, I mean, she's an absolute survivor, and she was incredibly graceful and wise in what she said today. And I mean, I don't know how she did it, to be honest, because it was 5 hours. No, more than that. 6 hours of recounting in graphic detail this long experience of what she went through at his hands and the way that he gaslighted her, but it was sort of beyond gaslighting. It was
sadistic.
It was sadistic. It was, and it was it induced the self-harm, use of hard drugs, just all kinds of horrors. And yeah, it was, I mean, this is obviously the case within the spy cops that I've followed the closest, because obviously he was deployed within the ISM, so it's a Palestine Solidarity related group, so that I could write about it professionally when it came out, and but even that was a funny experience because it was like I knew the guy, or thought I did, obviously, at the time, and I was writing it. I mean, at the time when his cover name was announced and the fact ISM had been infiltrated, I just wrote it as like a news report, and I talked about myself in the third person to kind of take myself out of it. And it was strange, and it was a strange experience today as well, hearing, because obviously Maya's spoken about her experience to the press since learning about the truth about Rob. And I remember reading some of it at the time a few years ago when, in various mainstream newspapers, couple, I think it was the Telegraph and maybe the Guardian, about how even when she found out, because she hadn't known until Atif and I went and, you know, told her, sort of sat down with her and said, look, this is who he was, a spy. He was a police officer. It wasn't just like people were saying rumors that he was a cop. I mean, you know how it goes, right? People get really paranoid in activist groups. Oh, that guy's a cop, obviously. But it was like, no, this has come from the government. He was definitely a police officer. This is not. And she was recounting at the end there, she didn't even understand what a spy cop was, what the inquiry was. And I think a lot of people in the country are still in that sort of position. So, and it's just very, very, very sadistic, like you said. It was very harrowing to hear how he just abused her in graphic detail, really. And the thing about the angel Gabriel, that was new to me. He was sort of, he was spy. So there was the thing is he was only deployed in ISM and these other activist groups for what, like 2 years. And I suppose the main thing to say about Maya and why she's a little bit different from a lot of the other women who were preyed on by these spy cops over the years is that she wasn't an activist. And she said it in those terms today, that she wasn't really an activist. She was just a friend of Atif, my friend, who will be testifying tomorrow, who was one of the founders of, I think the founder of ISM London. And she lived in the housing co-op next to him. And so that was why, in my view, why she was targeted, because he wanted a way into, he was deployed, tasked to infiltrate ISM London for whatever reasons, which we still don't really know why. And so he targeted her for that reason. Simple as that, you know, because then there'd be a reason for him to drop round, and he was doing the most abusive. It was, I think, I mean, you tell me what you think, because you've got more experience than me with, you know, all of these spy cops. There was many who preyed on women, but I've never heard of a story on this sort of level where he kept coming back years and years and years. What do you think about that?
There are similarities with James Thompson, who infiltrated animal rights groups. He equally he deceived a woman called Sarah, we were calling Sarah, who was also not an activist. She was someone who volunteered at a wildlife sanctuary. There have been a number of undercover officers. Belinda Harvey, who was deceived by Bob Lambert, she wasn't an activist. Donna McLean says, I mean, though she says she didn't consider herself an activist, she was a trade union rep and involved in went on demonstrations, but she didn't consider herself an activist. Was deceived by Carlos Araki. James Thompson, he maintained contact throughout. And would come back to the UK and meet up with her. Again, it seemed to be purely about the sex. I mean, in terms of the graphic nature and the sadistic sort of, like, all this kind of stuff about, like, kind of him, the cry bully stuff, you know, pretending that he's the victim, and the fucking poetry. I mean, Jesus, the fucking poetry. I mean, that's kind of unique. I mean, I would say that we always say that we're always in the situation when whenever we've got an undercover officer in front of us, we're like, this is the worst one. This guy's the fucking worst. And I mean, it's very much the case with Harrison right now. I mean, like, I think that the abuse really feels on another level in terms of, like, why she was targeted. I mean, I think that the proximities definitely plays a part, but I mean, also it seems like, you know, a lot of the time these men were targeting women for their vulnerabilities, and for their personal gratification. We know that there was a lack of pastoral care for the undercover officers from the unit, and that it was kind of, it appears like it was felt that, you know, these women were a comfort for the officers to make the job easier, a difficult job, but more comfortable. Which,
I mean, the phrase "perk of the job" was used at some point. By
quite a lot. Yeah.
Okay. I was making that point exactly to a friend earlier, that he definitely saw a vulnerability in her, and you know, she spoke very openly, and it wasn't under restriction order. She spoke very openly in the hearing today about her first sexual experience. I mean,
Mm.
just even
Mm.
saying it, I don't know how she did it, but like her first sexual experience was of being raped
Yes.
by someone else,
Mm.
and it seemed like Rob might have been her next sexual experience. That was the impression I got.
There was one in between, I believe,
Okay,
but yeah,
all right.
certainly. And I mean, he used that as like he asked her like, "Did you suck your rapist cock?"
Oh.
And like said he was jealous of her rapist. Just horrific things. I mean, the detail. I mean, like how on earth anybody can behave in that way is kind of beyond me.
Yeah.
And I mean, one of the things we heard over the last hour, just before we had the last break, was the way in which he got back in contact with her in 2014,
Yeah.
and he spent a great deal of time convincing her to leave her then partner.
Yeah.
That
Someone she'd been with for 4 years.
Yeah,
5 years.
5 years living together.
Yeah.
He convinced her to end that relationship. We saw the back and forth of messages where she's being incredibly romantic and talking about their future together, and he's talking about wanting to come inside her. I mean, it's really gross. He gets to the point where they finally do get together. They have sex. It lasts less than 5 minutes. He ejaculates inside her. It's not on contraception. He falls asleep straight away. He leaves the next morning. She never sees him again. She sends him an email saying, "Oh, I've had to get contraception, but I was all sorted out. Hope you're okay. Looking forward to seeing you." Nothing. I mean, like the level to which that he's gone to sleep with this woman again. I mean, it just feels like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? I mean, I'm really, really reticent to ever get into the sort of COD psychology of like what's going on in the heads of these fucking abusive men, because I don't want to and I don't care about them. But like, who the fuck? I mean, who the fuck is like that, man? What kind of fucking depraved character is like
He's
that?
a psychopath.
Yeah.
I mean, he saw himself as the Archangel Gabriel, but he was more like the devil, really, if anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was horrible. Like it was just next level abuse, psychological abuse. There was kind of a funny moment when she was recounting some of that, where she said about he didn't last very long, and it was in a very withering.
Yeah,
I don't think she intended it in that way, but it just came across.
Yeah,
and there was laughter because it was just mocking of him, like that he was not. We sort of laughed about it a bit, and it was there's a lot to process about it, and it's just all in all quite exhausting, and we'll be hearing more from. I mean, Atif was in the public gallery this afternoon, so he, heard a lot of that. So it'll be interesting to see what he's got to say tomorrow. Yeah.
Yes, he is giving evidence tomorrow. It's just a half day, because then in the afternoon we will finally be hearing from Chris Nyam, who was meant to be giving evidence last Tuesday. Okay. Chris Nyam, who was spied on by the undercover police officer HN118, cover name Simon Wellings, who infiltrated Globalized Resistance. He wasn't able to make it last week. I'm not sure if it was to do with the ongoing court case, which has just concluded, about the Palestine demo, where he was facing charges. That's concluded now, that there's not been a result yet. But those two witnesses, and then next week we will have Robert Hastings himself, who will be appearing over 3 or 4 days. I don't know how on earth he's going to answer to the very blatant, very clear abuse. I mean, obviously he didn't report. There was one report actually on Maya that he filed, but for the most part we've just been looking at the emails that they sent back and forth, and the text messages, the record of the text messages. Which I mean, it's just. I mean, he's an interesting character in some ways. The way that he was one of the first of the undercover officers who was chronically online. He posted online on the Urban 75, Boogie Boy. Yeah,
his DJ name was Boogie Night with a K.
Yeah,
cringe.
Very cringe. Yeah, I mean that's part of that whole sort of the way in which these men had this opportunity to like be whoever they wanted to be, and like some of them turns out they wanted to be in bands or be be DJs. There's quite a few DJs. They all appear to have been terrible.
I mean, Atif always said that, but he put him in a strategic position because he was often in a position to lead fundraising and just logistically be around places like the Rampart Social Centre.
Oh, and give us your address and I'll send you a mixtape.
Yes.
Yeah. Give us your address.
That on Urban 75, wasn't it? Right.
Yeah, I mean, and this sort of way of, I mean, it's something we heard from Bishop, Jason Bishop, whose cover job was selling counterfeit DVDs. He gave him this opportunity to be, can you get that for you? Yeah, sure, I'll drop it around your place.
He offered one time to drive me to the airport when I was going to fly to Palestine to join the ISM. You know, one of my trips to Palestine to join the ISM. Turned him down, luckily, but yeah, it's horrible. I am exhausted listening to it. So
I mean, I would say it has been one of the worst days of the inquiry, one of the most difficult to endure days of the inquiry, listening to the live evidence of Maya. I mean, I want to pay tribute to her. She's done a phenomenal job. The way that, obviously, she got emotional on a number of occasions throughout giving evidence today, but she has been so calm and clear, talking about things that it's like a nightmare, actually, like doing these things in public. I mean, she should feel no shame whatsoever. It's entirely him who's responsible. But like, even so, just actually having this in public, I mean, talking about the abuse she suffered, the drug use, these were not, there's not little things, none of it. And she did an incredible job of making, I mean, it's hard to know what the chair makes of it all. It's always, I try personally not to second guess him too much, but like, I don't think he can be left in any doubt of the harm that's been caused by how Robert Hastings treated her.
Absolutely.
Just a quick note on the this is a side note really, on the restriction orders. There were a number of restriction orders today, which meant that the broadcast was suspended a few times. At the end of the day, there was a bunch of confusion about the restriction orders, and the same restriction order was read out twice, meaning that the section that was right at the end that had to be stopped from people from reporting on wasn't covered properly. I actually stood up and announced to the room what the actual correct restriction order would be, because it was very obvious to me what that was going to be. And I just like the inquiry themselves to acknowledge that far from being someone who is cavalier and intentionally breaking restriction orders, I am more than willing to be a team player and explain to people when certain information should not be broadcast to the public. But, side point.
You did their job for them there.
Yeah, it felt dirty. Don't get me wrong, but yeah. As I say, it's been incredibly difficult today. I mean, there's a lot to be said about Robert Hastings, and we will be saying it as the week ahead. But I mean, like you say, today has been absolutely exhausting. Is there anything else you'd like to add about what we've heard today? It's your first time at the inquiry as well. What do you make of the entire process?
It's very strange. I mean, I've watched it online, obviously, a few times, and obviously I've been following you on Twitter X for ages. But it's my first time actually here in the building, and it's very strange. It's very strange. I don't know what to make of it. It's like, well, when I came in this room, it was like being back in the day with all these activists. It was like, oh, this is cool. I know this, and who's that? Who's that? I don't know who that is. It just very familiar feelings from 20 years ago.
Yeah. There was a bit of comrades reunited about the public gallery, certainly. Yeah, absolutely. And it's strange actually how it kind of goes in waves, that, because you get certain undercover officers come in, and when we had Jim Boyling, who infiltrated Reclaim the Streets here, there was a whole bunch of RTS activists who I hadn't seen for years, and everything that comes with that, which was quite joyful in its own way, even though I mean he was absolutely horrific. And I mean, I mean, in terms of sadistic, like we were saying earlier about, do you think anybody else was quite as bad? I mean, he was equally sadistic and in a different way. And there's a lot of restriction orders around him because of the effect that he had on the woman that the woman he married, he deceived and then married, and the children they had who then died. I mean, it's awful. I mean, his sadism is horrific, and I can't really talk about any of the detail of that because of the restriction orders. But I mean, I think even so, I feel like Robert Hastings is another level in some ways.
I really wonder what he looks like now, because Maya mentioned about when he reappeared in 2014, he looked very different. He was in a suit. Fat. Yeah. We shall see. Yeah, I mean, we will see next week. There are no restriction orders. I mean, his real name has been published. He will be in full view. We will be in the room with him. I mean, that will be. I mean, it's also that's the thing which is also really uncomfortable, is when you're in the same room as these fuckers, and you have to like stomach and have to be kind of quiet whilst they're being questioned. It's it's an unpleasant experience. Thank you for joining us. Please like, share, all that kind of stuff of these videos. Makes a huge difference to how well it's seen. There's been some
There has been some comments one here from Dave Smith. I don't even listen to this reportage, let alone the actual evidence. It is so horrible. Sending love and solidarity to Maya. Absolutely. Yeah, it has been.
Tom for chair.
Tom for chair. Yeah. I mean, the chair is retiring. I have thrown my hat into the ring and offered my services. They haven't been taken up. Kate Wilson also did that again for some reason, not turned up. From Proudhon, love and solidarity to all in attendance, and of course to Maya. Absolutely. Hasta la Victoria Yeah, Che Guevara. Yeah, I mean,
Che Guevara Lynch.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the right way to pronounce it, to be honest. I think that's. Oh, there's another comment here from James. Maybe the reason he targeted ISM was the job he had after in Special Branch with the other ex-SDS undercover officers. Yeah, absolutely. He did end up in the Muslim Contact Unit.
This is a really interesting, I think, unexplored area.
I mean, I think there has been some look at it, but I mean, I think partially because we've been so focused on what they did in the SDS. But I mean, certainly
because the Muslim Contact Unit, for what I know, I mean, it was Bob Lambert.
Yes.
Right, and Bob Lambert would have been one of Rob Hastings' bosses, managers.
Yes, he would have been. Yes, I mean, in many ways. We can really see the SDS as like a pre and post Bob Lambert, and the way that Bob Lambert operated during his deployment, where he deceived 4 women into intimate sexual relationships, having a child with one of them, setting up his own cell of the Animal Liberation Front, setting up a incendiary device campaign against Debenhams.
Would you say that it's accurate that Bob Lambert was kind of the architect of the SDS as we know it? Like, he wasn't the founder, obviously, that was in the 60s, but the architect of the SDS in the sense of creating these spies who had a legend and a whole long-term deployment in activist groups and double lives and you know, preying on these women and still having a wife at home as a police officer.
I mean, I think you can trace that back to Rick Gibson in the Troops Out movement in 1974. And there are little kind of signs of it as well in the 70s, but I think he took it to another level, and he took it to be, that's the gold standard. That's actually what you do. That's I think before that there was a mixture of approaches, and there were officers after Bob Lambert who didn't take that approach, but certainly it became the idea that was a proper deep swimmer. That there was we've heard from a number of undercover officers talking about how some undercover deployments were considered like a proper tour and others weren't, and it was Lambert the Lambert approach was considered like being a proper deep swimmer, proper undercover.
I really want to learn more about the Muslim Contact Unit connection, because there was a little echo of that today, because there was one email to Maya from Rob. I can't remember the year, but it was probably circa 2007, where he said something about he said there was a couple about the angel Gabriel.
Yes,
he said this psychopathic thing where he saw himself, because he was literally staring at her through her window without her knowledge, and this has left her feeling over the years like he might have been doing that at any time. So he was literally doing that, but he was casting himself as the Archangel Gabriel. Psychopathic to even say this, and looking over her benevolently, where he's actually doing really, really creepy stuff at a minimum. But there was another email where he mentioned being the angel Gabriel, and what about Gabriel's tears? So he's casting himself as the victim. And there was one where he mentioned about the interpretation of the angel Gabriel in Islamic theology in the Quran. So that shows that he was, had some interest in it in Islam. And so there's like the early stages of that kind of crossover from the SDS to Muslim Contact Unit.
I think there's an element, because Lambert goes on to head the Muslim Contact Unit. He brings in lots of people who he'd worked with before, who everybody talks very glowingly about Bob. There's a lot of we heard from S, who was the wife of Mark Jenner, who said, talks about like kind of, he was always so excited to hear from Bob, everything about, and like you get lots of former undercover officers talking about this without the unit, but Bob was a good man, Bob was there, Bob looked out for me, Bob was Bob sorted out, he was a fixer. He's held in very high regard by his former undercover officers. He was a fucking absolute nightmare to listen to, because the way he talked with such length, saying nothing. meeting was unbearable, an unbearable witness. He will be returning during phase 3, which is the managers, of course, because he was a manager by this point. So we heard him during tranche 2 as a field officer. We'll be hearing him during phase 3 of tranche 3 as a manager. There's a huge amount still to ask of him, not least the fact that so many of the meetings that seem to happen off the books happened in his garden. In fact, it became a euphemism. We'll sort it out in Bob's garden.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
It's been a long day. It's been a really difficult day. I noticed there's 103 people watching. Only one person has liked. It really does make a big difference to how far these videos are seen. If people like, share, and subscribe them all, so please do that if you're able to. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's it. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers. Thanks for joining me. We'll be back again tomorrow. Asif Chowdhury will be giving evidence in the morning. Chris Nyman in the afternoon. I'll be covering all of it. Then next week it is the end of it's the end of the SDS. It'll be the last of the field officers from the SDS. Robert Hastings. We'll hear bits about how we heard like reference to it earlier this week with Simon Wellings, HM118, about how the unit ended up winding up the closure of the SDS, how the counterterrorism ramp command came in and merged with special branch. Just one more comment there from Guy Smallman. Much likes from Beirut. A fair play, mate. Good on you, Guy. Stay safe. Yeah, I don't know what else to say really. But yeah, so please do join us for that. Then we will have a break of about 12 weeks before we return on 15th of June for the managers. There's 25 of them have been have given written statements. We don't know how many of them will be called. We hope lots. We'll see how that pans out. But thanks for joining us. See you all again tomorrow. Starts at 10 a.m. Bye for now.